We're alive. We're alive. So I want to make sure I share what I sound like. Well, make sure there's sound on YouTube. That's important, right? And which gives people some time to get in here. I'm not going to be long. I'm going to be here for 10, 15 minutes. And then I'm out. Deuces. All right, wait a minute. What are we doing? There we go. Your channel. All right. Wait a minute. What are we doing? Yep. So the volume is great on there. Good evening. Good night. Good morning. Good afternoon. And good day to you. My brother, all the way from Rwanda, is in the house. You always requested to come on live, but you know it's not going to happen. I mean, we can talk on later on, but not while I'm doing it live. Hi, I'm Ade Anifowoshe, aka Life Coach Ade. I want to have a quick conversation about grief. And some of you may or may not know that I have a grief ritual coming up. And when I am offering a workshop, a retreat, a healing session, an interplay session, a musical session, drumming session, I allow myself to just sink into the topic, into the energy, into the conversation. And when I do offer this, it is in response to guidance, listening. It is a surrender to what my work is. It is a surrender to not having it look a certain kind of way. It is giving up all the ways I thought my work needs to look like. It is giving up the way I think this broadcast have to show up because I didn't even know I'm going here. I have as a title, I say grief is the pathway to your healing. Good morning, my brother Baptiste, all the way from Rwanda. I am with you, you're with me, thank you. Grief is the pathway to your healing. So there was a quote that was tracking me down a few days, about 2 weeks ago. And I actually had a thought to pull it up, but then I forgot. And now I just remembered it. So hopefully it's on this phone. But if not, I know I can find it somehow. And here it is. Oh, thank God for God. So this is where I want to start. This is where I want to continue. Shalina, hey, how are you doing? I said your name. I recognize the name. And then I said it. I'm like, I know her. And oh, yeah, I know her. So I had an experience 2 weeks ago. And I was triggered by the experience. I was bothered by the experience. But I moved through it. So when I say triggered, I was triggered. I was bothered. But yet I was still able to do what I needed to do. Not long after that same day, a few hours later, I came across this quote that I'm about to read to you. And then the next day, I found it on another social media. Well, I don't know if it's a social media. It's a platform that I use quite often, actually, Insight Timer. And the quote is by Khalil Gibran. Some people say Khalil Gibran. I say Gibran. I don't know. He ain't mad at me if I mess his name up. Khalil Gibran said, between what is said and not meant, and what is meant and not said, most of love is lost. I want to invite you to just listen to that just a little bit. Allow it to just drop into your body, to your heart, into your mind, into your consciousness. In fact, just take a deep breath right now. Take a deep breath because your heart needs you to. Your guide needs you to. Your ancestors need you to take a deep breath. Not because I'm telling you. Don't be resistant, but you can be resistant too. Because you resist, you develop strong muscles, but you want to make sure you let go at the right time. You might snap between what is said and not meant, and what is meant and not said. Most of love is lost. That's Khalil Gibran. And that spoke to me when I had that experience. But it's something that's been it's something that's been happening for a long time, but it happened in a new way. And it happened in a time where I really had my voice. Now, I didn't have the conversation with the person because I didn't think I thought it was basically pointless. No, sometimes you just know it's pointless. And I also knew that I needed to make the adjustment within myself. How do I extend love? How do I extend love in what I think the person meant, or what I'm saying, or what they said, and what I mean, knowing that love is lost, because love. What is love? We don't know. For some people, it's something to be afraid of. For some people, it means intimacy. For some people, it means God. But on a visceral level, on a deep level, we know what love is. So I had to tap in and remember, can I be loving even though this person got on my last nerve? It's not the first time. And I've had an opportunity to see the person several times. They're showing up as they do. So this quote, this message, this wisdom is very real. Can I be loving in the midst of something pissing me off? Can I stand in love? Not I'm just going to be loving because that's the thing to do. No, the kind of love that have you stand in the midst of your triggers and your trauma and choose you and choose the other. It's because we love is why we grieve. So grief is something that sometimes people shy away from. I've been doing this workshop grief work for a long time now. And sometimes part of the feedback is, I thought it was going to be a heavy conversation. And there's a way that the person phrased it that I can't remember, and I wish I do. It's like the statement, the phrase was, it made me laugh and I loved it, but I can't remember what it is. But there's always this fear of, oh my God, it's too heavy. I don't want to deal with it. I can't deal with it right now. We often generalize or associate it with when we lose a loved one. It's not limited to that. We do ourselves a disservice when we think that's all it's about. Can we love ourselves even if we don't understand something fully, intellectually? Can we be loving? Can we express love? So, what is grief ritual? What does it mean to grieve? To grieve is to recognize that you're alive. To grieve is to know that you love and you have loved. To grieve is to know that you have dreams, you had goals, you had visions. There's some things didn't happen. To grieve is to recognize that 2019, your life was moving some kind of trajectory. It was moving in a certain direction that felt good, but something happened a few months later. And it changed everything. For some people, it was the best thing that ever happened. The pandemic, the lockdown. For some of us, it blew everything apart. For some of us, we got creative. My younger sister, she's never seen herself as an author. She's never considered herself as a writer. She had no desire to write. She wrote 2 books during the lockdown and published it like a year. Yeah, when was it? Was it last year? I think it was last. Yes, it was last year. And published it a year later. When you give yourself permission, when we give ourselves permission to grieve, we welcome healing. We welcome ourselves. I have a story, and I don't know if I have enough time to share it. So I'm going to give you a short version. I recently went through a rites of passage. And one of the greatest gifts of that experience for me was recognizing that I've been carrying grief for a long time, almost before I was born. And I don't know if I can do it justice without going into details, but I don't have that time because I got to be off in about 5-10 minutes. But in recognizing that I've been carrying the grief, which was what I marinated in while I was in my mother's womb because of the experiences that she was going through. Recognize it gave me the space to heal, to see myself differently. I call this workshop, I'm actually now calling the grief ritual, representing our ancestors. Grief ritual. There's two parts to this download that I got about 3 years ago. It came as representing our ancestors, representing our stories. And I often join them together. And recently, Spirit made it very clear. I have been doing representing our ancestors grief ritual, and I've also been doing representing your ancestors what's in a name. And I recently got Clarence. Clarence, that's funny. I wasn't even trying to say that word. That representing our ancestors, that retreat, that workshop, that work itself is about grief, releasing grief, honoring it, honoring grief, acknowledging it. Representing our story is what's in the name. What's in the name, that session is us gathering together to look at the meaning of your name. Where did it come from? How do you see it? What is the energy? How do you live that energy? Do you want to change your name? Have you changed your name? Looking at your soul signature, how you become an individual but not divided from your ancestors, and how you're writing a new story. Representing our ancestors is recognizing that they passed life on to us. They passed grief on. They passed trauma, yes, hurt and pain. And yet they passed on visions, dreams, joys, excitement, laughter, creativity, wisdom, the secrets of life. They passed that on to us. As human beings, we often focus on the negative aspect. We feel like if we could just figure out these heavy, hard emotions, then we'll be free. The truth is, when we move beyond all the narratives, when we move beyond the judgment of self, the search for self, when we recognize that we are all that we've always wanted to be, we are all that we seek, that we belong, even if we feel like we're different, we belong right here. We'll recognize that, we are truly right where we need to be. So, representing our ancestors who passed on in some way their vibrational frequency onto us, because we're not separated from them and they're not separated from us. They live in us, we live in them. You are your ancestors, whether you know them or not, whether you adopted or not, whether you could see it as a spiritual ancestor or a biological ancestor. We are connected. So what we are living out in this day, today, this moment, is an opportunity to heal the grief, the pain that was passed on. And I'm telling you, what you see in UK, in US, in the political system, because it's a system, is a representation of unacknowledged grief, unacknowledged sadness and sorrow. And it's not limited to the UK or the US. It's global, it's universal. When we question why some leaders, why somebody would do something so inhumane, it's because there is a grief, there's an energy of sadness, of sorrow, of displacement, of unbelonging that hasn't been faced. So when you feel like you don't belong, you feel like you're separate. When you feel like you're separate, you tend to think you're less than. So you end up overcompensating to make a point so you can be seen. So as we come together, when we come together to do grief rituals, we're not just healing for ourselves. We're healing for our family members, for our parents, for our grandparents, great grandparents. We are making a conscious choice to be the place where love gets to represent itself. Matured love, the love that is a choice, the love that heals the oppressed and the oppressor. There's so much that I'm feeling around this. I don't have the time, but I want to say this because it's been playing out. The best way I can start this conversation is to say it's time for us to wake up. Whatever that means for you, it's time for us to wake up. It's time for us to wake up and see beyond the bullshit that so-called leaders are spewing, to transcend their bullshit. Strong word, but that's what it is. To transcend their bullshit so we can transform it into fertilizer so we can grow from it. The multinational organizations. One of the things I've been thinking about is this whole thing about Kanye West, or Ye, which this is the first time talking about it. I didn't even think I was going to talk about it. And the companies are saying they're no longer working with him. Now, I may have missed it, but I get my news online and I don't go looking for it. It just pops up. It seems to me that there is more pushback about the anti-Semitic comment he made. I don't know. Now, someone can take what I'm about to say, what I'm saying now, out of context, but it is what it is. When he put on that, whatever he had on hoodie, and he said, "White lives matter," I don't know if any company stepped down and said they're no longer working with him. Humans, people, we do ourselves an injustice. We get in the consciousness of me, and forget that we are part of a we consciousness. Anybody who, whether it's, let's go with intentionally causing harm on an energetic level, emotional level, those in power, physical power, have a responsibility to speak up. The things that Ye said about George Floyd, that's not true. Until as a society, we don't need everybody, but until as a society, we stand up for injustice, anti-blackness, racism, anti-Semitism, gender abuse, that companies are taking a stand for it all equally, we're going to continue to repeat it. And because humans are humans, we are not responsible for what other people do or what they say. We have a responsibility to not add to the BS by doing our own healing work. Grief shows up in all kinds of ways. It shows up in depression. It shows up people chatting crap, to put it nicely. I mean, I've said bullshit, so why am I even saying crap? I might as well say shit, right? You have people in power saying things that make you go, did you just say that out loud? There is a Trevor Noah. I gotta jump off. Trevor Noah did a little on a Daily Show that he does regularly, and he talked about UK having the first Indian president, and he's prime minister, and he spoke to people who are racist racist, not racist people who were making racist statements and just could not agree with it. And I read something on an article yesterday and how I think it's the former mayor of London, and I'm not even going to mention that other guy's name. Yeah, I'm not going to give him no. But there are people who are saying the UK is the most. What's the word they use? They use some kind of word. It's like, yes, there are people who are not racist, and there are people who are. It's interesting how it's easy to deny anti-black racism, systemic injustice, what happened to Africans who were enslaved. That's a common thing. And there are people who deny the Holocaust. But it seems to me that anti-blackness racism, the injustice that happened and is still happening to black people, it gets people speak up. But I don't know. I don't know if if people respond the same way. Unless we wake up and recognize that injustice towards you is injustice towards me. We belong together, we need each other, and sometimes, most times, we can't change other people's opinion, we can't change who they're being. What we can change is ourselves. And there are people doing the work, you're doing the work, I'm doing the work, you're doing the work because you're here, you're listening, you're watching. And we have to continue to do the work. And the grief work is not just about society, it's about your own family. What are things in your family that you're struggling with? Your siblings that you haven't spoken to in years? When we make room, when we come together, however you do it, but healing happens in community. When you come together with others to grieve the pain of the past in the present moment, to give it voice, to speak it, to stand in truth, in light. Oh, you transform yourself and others. And then you don't even have to say, well, take care of people. I see this a lot when when they had somebody they love died, and they say, well, I just want to tell you, love the ones that express your love to people that are close to you before they're gone, before it's too late. We all know that. But sometimes it's a shock when it happens, like, oh my God, I wish I really expressed my love for them. Let's do it now. Let's grieve now. Let's love now. Let's be in joy now. And sometimes we think we're dealing with a disease that can't be healed. And it could be, air quotes, as simple as you're being invited to grieve the pain, the struggle, the sorrow, the sadness. It changes everything. If you're interested in joining the conversation, the healing session, November 19th, it's 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. UK time. Go to bit.ly / hello there, my dear sister. I didn't even see you. I had the chat box covered. Marianne, nice to see you. bit.ly / ROA-NOV19. I'm going to type that. Wait. So basically, if you think of representing our ancestors, it's on November 19th. So it's ROA-NOV19. Okay? bit.ly / RO. When I say I feel like I'm saying 0 and it doesn't sound right in my head. NOV19. Sign up. Keep this healing going. We need each other. We are each other. And if you're feeling like what's happening to the world, it's the end of the world. Yeah, the world is ending, but with an ending, there's a beginning. You're ended, there's a new beginning. You're dying, there's a rebirth. And grief is a pathway to healing. Whatever you're dealing with, allow yourself to heal. However you do the work, just do it. If you're coming to my session November 19th, great. If not, wherever you do it, we're all going to reap the benefit. So anyway, I love you all. I bless you. I appreciate you. And I thank God for you. Peace and blessings. And I'll be back online sometime soon. I don't know when, but I'll be here.